welcome to our March the 1st, 1994 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie. We're very excited today that we have a very special show. It's our history show number 218. And this is along with our mini-series of principals of schools in Grand Prairie, Texas, that have gone to school in Grand Prairie and that have come back to our city, and now they are serving as principals at many of the campuses in our city. We're very pleased today to have a very special lady. Nancy Bridges, we'd like to welcome you to the set, my dear.
Thank you very much, Ruthie.
Nancy Bridges, principal at Bowie Elementary School, but a real cohort, having attended schools in Grand Prairie. So let's start your genealogy by your looking to your camera and telling us all about your family. Anything that you'd like to say, and especially name drop the good ones, would you?
Okay. Well, I started here in Grand Prairie when I was in the 9th grade.
All right.
I lived in Dallas and went to school at Cabell Elementary and Marsh Junior High. Then my dad and mom moved out here to Grand Prairie when I was in the 9th grade.
All right.
So I went to Adams Middle School for 1 year and then Grand Prairie High School. And I graduated from there in 1970.
Okay.
And then, meanwhile, I got married and went to University of North Texas after that.
All right. Now, let's get back and name your parents.
Okay.
And give us your mother's maiden name so we can put all this into a good little pattern, would you?
My mother is Elizabeth Haven McMurray, and my dad is Olin McMurray. And I have one brother, Steve McMurray, and one sister, Julie McMurray.
All right.
And she is now Julie Wilburn. And she also used to teach in the Grand Prairie system. She taught at Bowie Elementary.
All right. And would you like to tell us anything about your family, where they are now, and if any of them live in the Grand Prairie area? We'd like to know about that.
They do. My parents still live here. They live on Tripoli, which is not too far from here. And my sister and brother, well, my brother lives in Arlington. My sister just recently moved to Phoenix.
Okay.
She works for Southwest Airlines, so she comes back and forth.
Okay. All right. Coming to Grand Prairie, Texas in the 9th grade, what did your parents do for a living so that we can set the stage? You came with your parents, and tell us about that.
My dad's company, Kerr Glass, moved out to the Great Southwest area. And he worked there in the office as traffic manager and different things.
Yes.
And he's retired. Both of my parents are retired. And they stay at home and keep grandkids.
Oh, that is wonderful. All right, now let's get to the 9th grade. Coming into Grand Prairie, Texas from Dallas, from the big schools in Dallas, what was your first reaction coming to Adams from the big city?
Well, the junior high I attended was very large. It was about the size of Grand Prairie High School.
Oh, my.
So when I came to Adams, it seemed small to me.
Yes.
But I just attended there 1 year. And Mr. Whitt was the principal then.
Okay.
And Mr. Blanchard was the assistant principal. And my favorite teacher was Mr. Wallace. He taught history.
Oh, my. Yes.
And then Mrs. Holly, I had her for English.
Yes. Some very special people at Adams Middle School.
And then at Grand Prairie High School, Noreen Bird was my English teacher.
All right.
And I really enjoyed her class. And then Mrs. Blanchard was the typing teacher. So I enjoyed having her.
Do you remember the principal?
Mr. Williams, Hobbs Williams.
Mr. Hobbs Williams, okay, all right. And all during high school, what were your favorite academics and your favorite extracurricular activities?
Well, I guess English was probably my favorite. And I was in homemaking and different clubs associated with homemaking.
All right, and then you decided to pursue an education further.
Well, I worked as an aide at a school in elementary, Irving Elementary, John Haley.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed working as an aide, so I thought, well, I'll go to school and become a teacher. So that's when I decided. I went to Mountain View first and then went to North Texas.
All right. Mountain View Community College, that's great. Did you have any favorite people there that inspired you, or had you already set your cap on education?
Oh, I'd already decided to go into education.
Never swerved from that at all?
Never.
Never, never. And then on to North Texas. And your graduating date in North Texas?
It's 1977.
1977, all right. And from 1977 on, bring us up to date, what happened to Nancy Bridges then?
Well, I student taught in Grand Prairie at Austin Elementary and at Eisenhower Elementary.
Okay. Who were the principals there?
Okay, Mrs. Burton was at Austin, and Mr. Angel was at Eisenhower.
Okay.
And then I got a job teaching at Dalworth Elementary.
Okay.
And I taught there from 77 to 86. And
What
Sally
grade?
Moore was the principal. I taught third grade for 6 years and fourth grade for 3 years.
All right.
And then I left there and went to Austin Elementary and taught for 1 year, third grade.
All right.
Then they started a new program. It was called Focus in Grand Prairie.
All right.
And I taught at Florence Hill, Garner, and Dickinson. I had those 3 schools. I was an itinerant teacher. I taught the computer lab, 1st through 5th,
All right.
reading and math. And then after that, I got into the internship program through administration.
All right.
And I was an intern at Dickinson Elementary and Milam Elementary, Austin, several campuses. And
You
then
just made the rounds,
I
didn't you?
have,
Oh, that's wonderful.
And then last year I was named as principal at Bowie Elementary, so this is my 2nd year.
Second year as the principal at Bowie. And of course, Bowie is on Southwest 3rd Street
And Alice.
and Alice Street. Yes. That's
And we have, at the present time, we have about 530 students.
all right.
Our population has fluctuated a little bit. We started out a little bit higher, but we're back down now.
And the Bowie symbol is a what?
The Bobcats.
The Bobcats, I should have known that. The Bowie Bobcats, that is great. All right, tell us a little bit about running a school from a principal standpoint. Running Bowie School, you're in charge, you're the mayor of that campus. So
I feel like the mother of that campus.
yes.
Because I've got lots of boys and girls who need lots of special attention. And
Do you have any special programs going on there that our general public might like to know
well, we
about?
have a program called the Watt Watchers. That's WATT,
All right.
as in kilowatts. And we help Mr. McCrary, our energy management person in the district. We have a 3rd grade group of students who go around checking lights to make sure they're off, heaters, air conditioners, to help conserve energy for our district.
That's great.
And they've been very effective.
All right.
And we also have our Bowie Student Helper Program.
Okay.
These are our 5th grade students. They help the cafeteria, custodian. They take up lunch counts in the morning. They help take the trash out, clean tables. They say the pledge. Just various roles, leadership roles.
That is wonderful. All right, do you have any sort of honors programs in the elementary school yet? Tell us about
We have our Top Cats,
that. Okay, now.
and you have to be on the A honor roll and the B honor roll to be a Top Cat. And teachers list their names every 6 weeks on bulletin boards. They get special recognition. They get free coupons to go to Poncho's and
How wonderful.
Tia's Tex-Mex Cafe, different things.
Okay.
So it pays to study hard.
Yes, it does. Is there any special thing that you're looking forward to incorporating now that you have your feet on the ground? You've been there now going into your 2nd year. Is there anything special that you have in the offing? I know that you're right into public school week.
Yes, this week, yes.
This is it. Yeah, this is the 2nd day of public school week. What are you showing and telling, and what do you have forecast?
Well, we have lots of activities going on this week. Our PE teacher has various programs that he's done in PE. We have a big open house scheduled for Thursday night, and all parents are invited. We have a special administrators luncheon tomorrow.
Okay.
This morning we had muffins with Mom, and moms came and had breakfast with their daughters and
How
sons.
wonderful.
And yesterday we had donuts with dads. So we've had lots of parents already.
Yes. And is there another show and tell, like some of their notebooks and academic works?
Well, Thursday evening we'll have everything on display.
All right,
for
now, is
parents
that
and for the
open
public.
to the public?
Oh, yes, anyone can come.
Even grandparents? and
Even
all?
grandparents, aunts, uncles, neighbors, everyone.
All right.
We're expecting a large turnout.
Oh, that is great. And would you give the magic address, say that someone was new to this area that lives on near 3rd Street that might want to come by?
It's 425 Alice Street.
425 Alice Street. Oh, that is great. If you had all of your life to do over, even starting back in the 9th grade coming to Adams, would you change anything, or would you still just love being a teacher and a principal?
I probably wouldn't change a thing because I have really, really enjoyed teaching in Grand Prairie and being a principal in Grand Prairie and going through all the roles I've been in. I think they have a lot to offer, and even our new principals, new interns that come in, and new teachers. We get lots of compliments from new teachers. They compliment how clean our schools are, and that's a real plus.
That's great. All right, Nancy Bridges, how about your personal life? Do you have children? Do you have a family? Would you name drop any of those? And let's get those in the record before we run out of time.
I have a son. His name is Russell Bridges. He graduated from Grand Prairie High School in 1990. And he is now a senior at the University of North Texas.
How wonderful.
And he's majoring in business. And I have a husband, Ron Bridges. He went to school here in Grand Prairie since elementary school. He attended Fannin in Houston and Lee Middle School and then Grand Prairie High. And all of his family still lives here too. He's got several brothers and sisters, and his mom and dad are still here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. And are there any grandparents or anyone that's been special to you that you want on this history tape of yours?
Well, I don't have any grandparents that are living, but my grandparents were special, as were my husband's grandparents.
Yes. Oh, that is great.
They were both special.
All right. Now, Nancy Bridges, do you have outside interest other than maybe your PTA and things like that that you'd like to name drop? I know about your Junior Women's Club activities, so you better tell us about some of the good stuff.
I used to be very involved in Junior Women's Club.
Yes.
Since I've become principal, though, there's not as much time to do a lot of the outside stuff, but I enjoyed the community work I did with the Junior Women's Club.
Anything else that you want to tell about your activities in the city?
Nothing else I can think of.
Okay. Now, would you like to look out into your camera and really encourage parents and students? The top of the line doesn't come accidentally, usually. Give them your philosophy of life and give me about 3 minutes of exhortation to anyone that may be watching our show.
Well, my philosophy
This is your camera.
This is my camera. My philosophy is you've got to go to school and be in school every day. Attendance is very important, and because if you're not at school, you can't learn. And the best thing parents can do for children is see that they attend school, behave in school, get their homework done, make good grades, and go on to middle school and high school, and hopefully college.
All right. And what do you anticipate coming from this business education major that you have at North Texas, and anything else that you would forecast for your special son?
Hopefully he will graduate within the next year.
All right.
And I hope he can find a good job and work hard, because that's one thing I've instilled in him also is you've got to go to school, study, because that's the only way that you're going to have a good job and be able to function well in life.
Now, one other thing, we're down to almost to the end of this. Following your principalship, do you have any aspirations above that level?
Right now, I think just being a principal is all I can focus on and making sure I do a very, very good job at that.
And would you encourage anyone that's in school at this time to follow in your footsteps and pursue education, even with things as mixed up as they are in education today? I'd like to hear your comment on that.
Well, we say they're mixed up, but I think if anyone is interested at all in teaching and helping students, that's the place to be, because there's so many different things you can do for students and help them. Teachers are such role models that students need this nowadays.
And what kind of encouragement on your last notes do you think that the students and parents could give to a teacher that really cares about kids?
Teachers, I mean, like I said, they're the best role models these kids have.
They're human beings.
They're human beings, and parents, please remember that, and they make mistakes too, and communication is the best thing with your child's teacher, is try to communicate and talk to them on the phone, write notes, whatever it takes, just keep in constant communication with your child's teacher.
Nancy Bridges, it's just been wonderful to have you on the set today.
Well, thank you.
And to know that you did go away to North Texas, but you came back and settled in Grand Prairie, and you've taught in a multitude of our campuses. And we want to thank you for being a wonderful part of Grand Prairie and for raising your family here.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
And we'll be right back.
What if, instead of finding people who throw trash on our Texas highways, we sent them to have a little conversation with Mike Williams? Just what if, every time a piece of trash blew out the back of a pickup truck, Mike was standing there to hand out the fine? It's just a thought.
Our our second interview in our mini history series, and we're very pleased to continue featuring principals of our Grand Prairie Independent Schools. And we're so pleased to have back on the dais a very special young lady that was here for many times as a chairman of the Girl of the Month and Girl of the Year for Federation of Women's Clubs. Vicki Overton, welcome to the set.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
Vicki, it's delightful to have you on the set, and let's establish your genealogy. Look right out into your camera and tell us good things about Vicki. Anything you want to tell about your genealogy, please.
Well, I was born here in Grand Prairie. My dad was in the Navy and was stationed out at NAS Dallas. He and my mother, Johnny and Albert Bond, were originally from East Texas and came to Grand Prairie with the Navy way back in the 50s. Lived here till I was 6 years old, and then we were transferred to New York, Queens, New York. So I went to first, second, and third grade in New York. Moved back to Grand Prairie. My father was assigned overseas, and so mother and my brother and I stayed here in Grand Prairie. That's where all of her sisters were. Went to Crockett Elementary for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Then we moved down to Beeville, Texas, just south of San Antonio. And it's from there that Daddy retired from the Navy, and we just came back to Grand Prairie. That's been home. Attended Lee Middle School in 9th grade. Went to Grand Prairie High School for 10th, 11th, and 12th. Graduated in 1969.
All right. Born in Grand Prairie, Texas, in a magic year.
1951.
1951. And during those early years, before going to school, and your dad was in the Navy, what did Vicki do those times?
Well, I was probably pretty spoiled rotten.
Yes.
We have a very close family, very supportive. I have a younger brother who's 4 years younger than me, Keith Bond, and we did lots of family kinds of things together, lots of cousins, and kind of an extended family situation. Lived over on Southwest 4th Street, and lived there until we moved to New York for first grade.
Yes, yes. And all of the times that you were in Grand Prairie, Texas, are there any special memories you have of that? Was it really saddening for you to have to move to New York and leave all your playmates? And
Well, it was a little bit of a change. New York's quite different from Grand Prairie, but we made friends up there, and I got to learn a lot of different cultural traditions and things from the people in New York, lots of different religions that we became, familiar with, and so I just kind of grew as a person, I think, and my parents are very accepting people, and so we were, really pretty well welcomed in New York.
any special people that you would like to remember in your sojourn to New York and in that area?
Yes, Melvin and Joyce Prince were our very best friends up there. They had children that were my age and my brother's age, and my parents still communicate with them. We haven't seen them in a long time, but they do still communicate.
Were there school people that you have in your memories?
Oh, that was a long time ago. I went to PS 114. I do remember.
Okay.
Lots and lots of snow. Lots and lots of snow.
Yes. All right, and then leaving New York, carry us along a little bit closer on your journey.
That's when my father was going to be stationed aboard a carrier, and so we moved back here, lived out in Avion Village, and I attended Crockett Elementary. Had Miss Sanders in 4th grade,
Yes.
who was a wonderful teacher. Mr. Miller was my 5th grade teacher. I was in a combo, 5th and 6th grade combination class. Then 6th grade, Mrs. Spindle was my teacher. And I have some really special, fond memories of Mrs. Spindle. She probably doesn't remember me. I was a very, very quiet child. People find that hard to believe these days, but she was a terrific teacher.
Do you remember the principal?
Yes, Mr. Vale.
Mr.
Was
Vale?
the principal, yes.
Our historian of Grand Prairie, Texas.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yes. Well, that's wonderful.
And his daughter and I later attended school together at Grand Prairie High.
Okay. And then on from Crockett to?
Beeville, Texas.
To Beeville.
Yes.
Okay.
Went to Thomas Jefferson Junior High in Beeville. And it was a very exciting time being in middle school. And Beeville's a small community, had lots of close friends that I haven't kept up with since then, but I have some good fond memories.
Any special teachers, mentors?
Mr. McGee was a science teacher, and science is not one of my strongest subjects, but he was a challenging kind of teacher, and I think that's something that I learned to appreciate.
And from Beeville?
Back to Grand Prairie.
Texas.
My dad retired and came back here. Started a second career,
Yes.
is what he did. And we came back home to Grand Prairie, went to Lee Middle School, and Mr. Fuller was there at the time. I kind of reacquainted myself. A lot of the kiddos that I had known at Crockett,
Yes.
of course, were going to Lee, so I got to meet them again and reestablish some old friendships. Then I went on to Grand Prairie High.
But don't leave Lee, the favorite teachers. There must be someone special.
Yes,
other
there were
than Mr.
several. Miss
Fuller.
Lee was an English teacher that I was really fond of, and then she went to Grand Prairie High as a typing teacher the next year, so I got her again whenever we both went to Grand Prairie High together.
Okay. And then on to Grand Prairie High School, and who was the principal and all the good
Well,
stuff?
Hobbs Williams was the principal at that time. And
About
he
the
was-
same time Nancy Bridges went.
Yes, in fact, Nancy Bridges and I had homemaking class together.
Okay.
Mr. Williams was also my sophomore Sunday school teacher.
All right.
So I knew him that way, and then again as principal, had lots of wonderful teachers at Grand Prairie High. Noreen Bird, an English teacher, Ann Ware, an English teacher, and Mrs. Carletti in geometry, math.
Yes, yes.
Math was kind of tough for me, but the lady has patience, and she had good teaching skills because somehow she managed to get me through that with a B.
Oh, that is wonderful. All right. Any extracurricular activities that were you involved in? Volleyball, basketball? any
People
of-
look at me with my height and think that I ought to be the athlete.
Yes.
I'm a little too clumsy. I can't walk a straight line. So athletics were not part of my extracurricular things. I was working after school quite a bit at Stouts Floral,
Okay.
saving my money. And so I wasn't involved in a lot of extra school kinds of things.
That's good. And then,
But I studied hard.
and then you graduated in the magic year of
1969.
1969. That was a good year.
Yes, it was.
All right. And then graduating from Grand Prairie High School, then
In fact, if I may say, that was the last year that Grand Prairie High had a graduating class before South started.
I see.
And so we were the last group.
the last one where we were combined. Okay. And then where did you?
Well, I attended UTA for a year. I
Okay.
wasn't quite ready to go away, and so I attended UTA. Got some of my basics out of the way, and then for the next 3 years I went to Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches and pursued a home economics degree and also elementary education. So I have some secondary training and then the elementary also.
All right. And then when you finished at Stephen F. Austin, down in the Piney Woods,
Well, I had met my husband when I was working at Stouts Floral and Gift. He was a delivery boy at Stouts Floral and Gift at a different time. We just happened to go back to visit at the same day and
Yes.
kind of hit it off. And so we married the year I graduated from college, and I stayed in Nacogdoches and taught for a while. I taught first, second, and third grade. And then we moved back to Grand Prairie about 20 years ago, decided to come back home.
All
And I've been teaching and working in education here ever since.
all right, now, since you have brought another young man into the picture, let's talk about your family. Tell us who he is, what he does, and how he adapts to your being the boss of the world out at Milam.
Well, he's the song Wind Beneath My Wings.
Yes.
He very much is that. Pete Overton is also a graduate of Grand Prairie. He's employed with NEC out at Las Colinas. Tech writer, works with computers.
Yes.
I have a son who is a junior at South Grand Prairie High School, and I guess he gets his computer love from his dad.
And you would
because
give us
he's-
his name.
Oh, Ryan Bond Overton. I
Yes.
gave him my maiden name. I was Vicki Bond, and so he
How
is Ryan
wonderful.
Bond Overton. He, like I said, is a junior, is in Billy Donegan's television production
Yes.
class, and you know
Yes.
what good things she does
She
with
does
kiddos.
good things.
So he'll be graduating next year. My daughter is in 6th grade at Jackson Middle School, and I think she's going to have the athletic ability that
And you're
I
gonna give us
didn't.
her name?
Her name is Haley Ann Overton. Just turned 12.
And she is in Adams?
No, she's at Jackson.
At Jackson.
At Jackson Middle School.
Okay, all right. Now, we have the family established. Are there any mentors in your family, grandparents or anyone else that you'd like to talk about before we get into your teaching career?
I was lucky enough to have my mother's mother, Flora Hale, lived in East Texas. She was alive up through my adult years, and that's my daughter is named after her, Haley, after the Hale maiden name. And then my father's father, Leonard Bond, was in education. He was a principal and superintendent in several small towns in East Texas. And I think they gave my parents the kind of background that allowed them to be the kind of parents they were, because I have been supported through anything I've ever wanted to try.
That is great. All right, now into your career. Okay, after teaching in Nacogdoches, and then where did we go?
Well, we moved back up to Grand Prairie. Didn't have any children at that time, and that was the year that Grand Prairie moved 6th grade from elementary to the middle schools. And so they were needing some people to do that. I had an elementary certification, so I started in at Jackson Middle School. And at that time, I thought, I'm just going to stay there and teach 1 year, and then I'm going to be able to get into an elementary when there's an opening.
Yes.
Fell in love with middle school. You have to really have a love for those 12-year-olds to stick with it. And I stayed there for 12 years, worked with remedial reading and honors reading, regular kids, just lots of things.
And from Jackson?
Well, I had, Mr. Blanchard was the first principal I worked with at Jackson. And then Mr. Ferris was there. Mr. Berry had come in between, and Mr. Berry went on to South Grand Prairie as principal, and he allowed me to go over to South as an assistant principal. I guess he saw a spark there of my love for kids and willing to do some hard work, and so I went to South Grand Prairie in '85 as an assistant principal for 2 years under Mr. Berry. Then I was Dean of Instruction under Mark Jackson for 3 years.
All right.
That brings us up to about 3 years ago when I became principal at Milam Elementary in 1990.
And principal 1990 through 1994, hopefully the rest of these years.
Yes.
What do you want to be when you grow up? And we have half a minute to tell us that. What are you going to do from principalship?
Right now, I don't want to do anything else. I love being in the school with the kids, but I've loved everything I've ever done. When I was teaching 6th grade, that's all I ever wanted to do. When I was at the high school, that's all I ever wanted. But right now, my Milam Mavericks are just about the best things in the world.
And you're into open house?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And everyone come?
Our parents are very supportive. We just got through with having 459 parents show up for an hour read-along. Those parents do care.
Isn't that great?
They're great.
Yes, and your students too.
And before